My life had always been ordinary. I worked long hours at my struggling startup, worried about unpaid bills, and spent most nights wondering whether my company would survive another month. Then Sophia Sterling walked into my life. Not as a client, not as an investor, but as the most unexpected woman I had ever met. She was a billionaire heiress, the daughter of one of the most powerful businessmen in the city. Everyone knew her name. Everyone wanted something from her. I was different. I didn't care who her father was. I didn't care how much money she had. And apparently that was exactly why she wanted me. Ethan, I need a favor. I looked across the small coffee shop table at her. A favor? Yes. You're Sophia Sterling. You don't usually ask people for favors. She smiled faintly. That's because most people are afraid to say no to me. I don't have that problem. I noticed. She pushed a folder toward me. I didn't touch it. What is this? My problem. I opened the folder and saw a photograph of a man in an expensive suit. Alexander Kane, Sophia said. The Kane family? She nodded. His father has been trying to arrange a relationship between us for months. My father supports the idea. And you don't? I'd rather disappear. I almost laughed. That bad. Worse. She leaned closer. My father thinks Alexander is perfect for me. He's wealthy, powerful, educated, and connected. Everything my family considers important. And what do you consider important? Being able to breathe. That answer surprised me. Sophia Sterling, the woman who could buy almost anything, looked genuinely trapped. My father keeps inviting Alexander to family events. Business dinners become relationship meetings. Every conversation becomes an argument. So, what do you want me to do? She looked directly into my eyes. Pretend to be my boyfriend. I nearly choked on my coffee. You're serious? Completely. For how long? 3 months. I stared at her. You want me to pretend to date a billionaire heiress? Yes. Why me? She didn't answer immediately. Then she said, because you're the only man I know who doesn't treat me like Sophia Sterling. What does that mean? When we met last week, you didn't recognize me. I didn't. You complained about the coffee. It was terrible. She smiled. You told me to move my laptop because you needed the outlet. You were using the only one. You didn't ask about my family. Why would I? You didn't flirt with me. I was working. You didn't care about my money. I still don't. She became quiet. Exactly. I leaned back. This is insane. I know. And what do I get? She opened another folder. Inside were financial reports from my company. My stomach tightened. You investigated my startup? I had my people look into it. You had people look into me? I needed to know if I could trust you. I closed the folder. My company isn't for sale. I know. Then why show me this? Because I know you're struggling. I said nothing. She continued. I can help you save it. My heart beat faster. How? Funding. Investors. Office space. Legal support. Whatever you need. And in exchange, I pretend to be your boyfriend. For 3 months. I looked at her. You're offering to save my company for 3 months of pretending? Yes. That sounds too good to be true. It isn't free. I know. She folded her hands on the table. You follow my rules. What rules? She counted them on her fingers. No real feelings. Fine. No jealousy. Easy. No kissing unless it's absolutely necessary for appearances. I raised an eyebrow. That's oddly specific. I know my family. Okay. And absolutely no talking about marriage. I laughed. Marriage? Yes. Sophia, I'm agreeing to pretend to be your boyfriend for 3 months. Why would we ever talk about marriage? Because my father thinks every serious relationship should end that way. Well, that's not happening. Good. She finally relaxed. I studied her for a moment. There was something strange about the entire situation. I should have walked away. Any sensible person would have. But my company was days away from collapsing. My employees depended on me. Years of work depended on one opportunity. And Sophia was offering me a chance I couldn't ignore. 3 months, I said. Her eyes widened slightly. You agree? I'll do it. She extended her hand. Then we have a deal. I shook it. Her hand was warm. For one strange second, neither of us moved. Then she pulled away. Remember the rules. I remember. No feelings. Got it. No jealousy. Fine. No unnecessary kissing. Definitely fine. And no marriage. I laughed again. Sophia, trust me, marriage is the last thing you need to worry about. She stared at me. Then, for the first time, her expression became completely serious. Just remember, Ethan. I waited. This is fake. Her voice was quiet but firm. Don't ever make me believe it's real. I smiled. Don't worry. I won't. But neither of us knew how badly we were about to fail at that promise. Our first real test came 3 days after I agreed to become Sophia Sterling's fake boyfriend. It was a family dinner. Sophia picked me up herself. When I got into the car, she looked at me for several seconds. What? You look nervous. I am nervous. You shouldn't be. Your father is one of the richest and most intimidating men in the city. He's just my father. That doesn't make me feel better. She laughed. You'll be fine. You said that like you actually believe it. I do. The mansion was enormous. The moment we entered, I understood why Sophia hated being treated like a princess. Everything around her seemed designed to remind her that she belonged to the Sterling family. Her father was waiting at the dining table. Richard Sterling looked at me without smiling. So, he said, you're Ethan. Yes, sir. Sophia immediately took my arm. Dad, Ethan is my boyfriend. Richard's eyes moved from her hand to my face. I heard. Then why does it sound like you're disappointed? Sophia. She sat beside me. I sat next to her. Dinner began quietly. Too quietly. Finally, Richard put down his fork. What does your family do, Ethan? I knew what he was really asking. How wealthy are you? What can you offer my daughter? I answered honestly. My parents aren't wealthy. I built my company myself. What company? I told him. How much is it worth? Not much right now. Richard raised an eyebrow. Not much. It's still growing. Or failing. Sophia's expression hardened. Dad, I am asking a question. I looked directly at him. If you want to know whether I'm using Sophia for money, the answer is no. Richard leaned back. Everyone says that. I understand. Do you? Yes. I remained calm. My company is struggling. I won't pretend otherwise. But I didn't start dating Sophia because she's wealthy. Richard gave a cold smile. Then why are you dating her? I looked at Sophia. She was watching me carefully. Because I like her. The room went silent. Richard stared at me. You hardly know her. Maybe. And yet you claim to like her? I don't need to know everything about someone to know I enjoy being around them. Sophia's fingers suddenly slipped beneath the table. Then she grabbed my hand. I froze. Her palm was cold. She was nervous. The confident billionaire heiress who had given me a list of rules was trembling. I squeezed her hand gently. She looked at me. For a second, the performance disappeared. Then Richard spoke again. I expect my daughter to be careful. So do I. You understand that her life is different from yours? I do. Her family has responsibilities. So does mine. Richard frowned. You seem confident. I've had to be. And what exactly do you intend to give Sophia? I looked at him. Respect. Sophia's fingers tightened around mine. Richard said nothing. Eventually, dinner ended. The moment we stepped outside, Sophia released my hand. You survived. I thought you said your father was just your father. He is. Your father interrogates people like a police detective. She laughed. I know. We walked toward the car. You were good in there. Good. You didn't become defensive. He was trying to insult me. I know. You were nervous. She stopped. I wasn't nervous. You were shaking. Her cheeks turned pink. You noticed? I noticed everything. She looked away. That wasn't supposed to happen. What? You weren't supposed to make me feel safe. I smiled. I didn't know that was against the rules. She laughed softly. After that night, our fake relationship became public. Sophia and I attended charity events, business dinners, gallery openings, and social gatherings. Everywhere we went, cameras followed us. The headlines appeared almost immediately. Mystery man captures Sterling heiress's heart. Who is Sophia Sterling's new boyfriend? Billionaire heiress finally finds love? I showed Sophia one article. Apparently I'm mysterious. You are. I've told you everything. Not everything. What am I hiding? She smiled. I don't know yet. At first, the attention annoyed me. Then something changed. Sophia started enjoying herself. During events, she would whisper jokes in my ear. Sometimes she'd laugh at things that weren't even funny. She began calling me before public appearances. Are you ready? For what? To pretend. I would answer always. But sometimes her voice became quiet after I said it, as if the word bothered her. Our second fake date happened at a small restaurant far away from the city center. Sophia had chosen it because nobody knew her there. We sat in a quiet corner. No cameras, she said. No reporters. No family. No Alexander. She smiled. This is perfect. We ordered dinner. For the first few minutes, we talked about ordinary things. Work. Food. Movies. Childhood memories. Then I told her about the time I accidentally presented the wrong business proposal to a room full of investors. She laughed. Not politely. Not carefully. She laughed so hard she covered her mouth. You're terrible, she said. You're the one laughing. I can't help it. You look happy. She suddenly became quiet. I watched her. What? Nothing. You're smiling. So, why are you smiling so much? She looked down at her hands. For several seconds, she didn't answer. Then she lifted her eyes toward mine. Her expression was softer than I'd ever seen it. Because being with you doesn't feel fake anymore. My heart stopped. I remembered our first conversation. No feelings. No jealousy. No unnecessary kissing. No marriage. It had been simple. A business arrangement. A 3-month performance. But sitting across from Sophia that night, I realized something terrifying. Maybe the performance had already started becoming real. And, judging by the look in her eyes, she knew it too. Emily came back into my life at exactly the wrong time. Or maybe the right time. I wasn't sure anymore. She had been my childhood friend, and after years of working for another company, she joined my startup as our new operations manager. When I introduced her to Sophia, I noticed something immediately. Sophia didn't smile. Emily, I said, this is Sophia. Emily extended her hand. It's nice to finally meet you. Sophia shook it politely. Likewise. Emily looked at me. It's been years since I've seen you this happy. Sophia's expression changed. Happy. Emily laughed. Ethan was always serious when we were kids. He'd spend hours talking about his stupid business ideas. They weren't stupid, I said. They were terrible. I laughed. Sophia didn't. Later that evening, Sophia pulled me aside. You and Emily are close. She was my best friend growing up. I see. Is something wrong? No. You look upset. I'm not upset. You're staring at her. I am not. I smiled. You're jealous. Sophia's eyes widened. Jealous? Very. She folded her arms. Why would I be jealous? I don't know. You tell me. She looked away. Because we're pretending to date. Exactly. So there's no reason for me to be jealous. That doesn't sound convincing. It doesn't matter. She walked away before I could answer. The next morning, Sophia called me at work. What are you doing? Working. With Emily? I paused. Yes. Why? Because she works here. Oh. Silence. Did you need something? No. She hung up. 2 hours later, she called again. Have you eaten? Not yet. You should eat. I will. Did Emily eat? I laughed. Are you serious? What? Why are you asking about Emily? I was just asking. You're jealous again. I'm not jealous. You sound jealous. I have to go. She hung up. The calls continued. She called during meetings. She sent messages during lunch. She asked about Emily's schedule. She even started appearing at business meetings she had no reason to attend. One afternoon, she walked into my conference room while Emily was presenting a proposal. Sophia sat beside me. Emily looked surprised. Are you joining us? Sophia smiled. I'm Ethan's girlfriend. I thought I should know what he's working on. I stared at her. You never cared about these meetings before. She leaned toward me. I care now. Emily continued the presentation, but I noticed Sophia watching her carefully. Afterward, Emily approached me. Is she always like this? Like what? Possessive. I laughed. She isn't possessive. Emily raised an eyebrow. Sure. That weekend, we attended a business celebration after closing one of the biggest deals my company had ever secured. I was talking to several investors when Emily walked over. Ethan, she hugged me. Congratulations. Thank you. She stepped back, still smiling. You finally did it. Before I could respond, I noticed Sophia standing across the room. Her smile had disappeared. She walked toward us. Excuse me. Emily stepped aside. Sophia took my arm. Come with me. Where? Now. She pulled me toward the group of investors. Then she smiled brightly. Everyone, I'd like you to meet my boyfriend. I nearly laughed. You already introduced me. I know. She moved closer. Much closer. Her hand rested on my chest. This is Ethan. One investor smiled. We've heard a lot about him. Sophia looked at Emily, then back at me. I'm sure you have. I tried not to laugh. Later, we stepped outside. You were jealous. I wasn't. You pulled me away from Emily. She was hugging you. She was congratulating me. She didn't need to hug you. I smiled. Why does it bother you? It doesn't. You're terrible at lying. She glared at me. Remember the agreement? What agreement? Our relationship is an act. I nodded. Right. No feelings. I remember. No jealousy. I remember that too. And no pretending this is real. I looked at her. You're the one who said it doesn't feel fake anymore. She froze. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked away. That night, I returned home late. My phone buzzed. Sophia, where are you? I smiled. Me, driving home. A minute later. Sophia, how long? Me, 20 minutes. Another message appeared. Sophia, you're late. I laughed. Me, you sound like my wife. There was a long pause. Then, Sophia, don't joke about that. I stopped smiling. A few seconds later. Sophia, are you almost home? Me, 10 minutes. Sophia, good. Then another message. Sophia, I was waiting. I stared at the screen. Why was she waiting for me? We weren't a real couple. This was supposed to be an arrangement. But she was waiting for me to come home. The next morning, I found her in the kitchen. You waited for me last night. She looked uncomfortable. I was bored. You sent me 6 messages. I wanted to know when you'd return. Why? Because you're my fake boyfriend. I smiled. Fake boyfriend? Yes. You seem very invested in your fake boyfriend. She rolled her eyes. Don't make this complicated. I didn't. You're enjoying this. A little. She sighed. Then she looked at me with an expression I couldn't understand. Ethan? Yeah. If Emily asked you to date her for real, would you say yes? The question hit me harder than I expected. Sophia immediately looked away, as if she regretted asking. I stared at her. For the first time, I didn't see the billionaire heiress. I saw a woman who was afraid of losing someone she had never officially claimed. And suddenly, I wondered if our fake relationship had become real for her long before either of us was ready to admit it. After Sophia asked me whether I would date Emily if she wanted something real, things changed. She didn't become more distant. She became more curious. Too curious. One morning, we were having breakfast when she suddenly asked, Ethan, what kind of wedding would you want? I nearly dropped my coffee. A wedding? She nodded casually. Someday. Why are you asking? I was just curious. I smiled. That's a dangerous question coming from you. Why? Because you made it very clear that we're never supposed to talk about marriage. Her cheeks turned pink. I said someday. Not ours. Okay. So. I thought for a moment. I don't think I'd want anything huge. Really? I'd rather have a small wedding. Somewhere peaceful. Maybe outside. Just close friends and family. Sophia stared at me. Outside? Yeah. With flowers? Probably. White flowers. I smiled. Why are you planning this? She immediately looked down at her plate. I'm not. You just asked about flowers? I was making conversation. Right. She stood up. I have work. I laughed. Of course you do. She walked away quickly. A few days later, Sophia told me she had to visit a bridal store. Why? Business. A bridal store? Yes. What kind of business happens there? Complicated business. I didn't think much of it until I accidentally saw her leaving the store later that afternoon. She looked embarrassed when she noticed me. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. I told you. Business. Did you buy anything? No. You look suspicious. I always look suspicious. That isn't true. She walked toward her car. I noticed something in her hand. A small brochure. I reached for it. She quickly pulled it away. What is that? Nothing. Sophia. It's just a catalog. For wedding dresses? She froze. It was given to me. Why? I don't know. I smiled. You looked at wedding dresses. No. You absolutely did. I was curious. About what? She looked at me, then quietly said, what I'd look like. My smile disappeared. She seemed surprised by her own words. She shook her head. Forget it. She got into the car. I stood there watching her drive away. That night, she called me. What would you think if I wore a simple wedding dress? I laughed. You're thinking about this again? I just asked a question. You'd look beautiful. Silence. Really? Really? She became quiet. Then she changed the subject. But I could hear the smile in her voice. After that, I started noticing little things. She talked about where she wanted to live someday. She asked whether I liked apartments or houses. She wanted to know if I preferred the city or the countryside. One evening, she even asked, if you had children, what would you name them? I stared at her. Sophia. What? We're supposed to be pretending to date. I know. You're planning our entire future. I am not. You asked me about children. I was curious. Again, she laughed nervously. Maybe. The strangest part was that Sophia didn't seem to realize she was doing it. She would imagine something, speak about it, then suddenly remember herself. Someday. Or, not necessarily with you. Or, it's just a hypothetical. But I was beginning to understand. She wasn't imagining some imaginary future. She was imagining ours. One quiet evening, we watched television together. Sophia sat beside me on the couch. She looked exhausted. You should sleep, I said. I'm fine. You've been working all day. I can handle it. 5 minutes later, her head rested against my shoulder. I looked down. She was asleep. I smiled. The woman who controlled billion-dollar decisions had fallen asleep during a movie because she was too tired to keep her eyes open. I carefully pulled a blanket over her. She moved slightly. Ethan. I froze. She was still asleep. Her fingers closed around my sleeve. Don't leave. My heart tightened. I won't. She smiled faintly. Then she went silent. I stayed there for a long time, listening to her breathing. The next morning, she woke up and immediately looked confused. Why am I here? You fell asleep. I did. On my shoulder. Her eyes widened. I did not. You did. I don't remember. You also said my name. Her face turned bright red. I did not. You did. What did I say? I smiled. You said, Ethan, don't leave. She covered her face. I was asleep. Exactly. I don't remember any of it. I believe you. She looked at me suspiciously. You're enjoying this. A little. She stood up. I need coffee. Running away? No. You are. She disappeared into the kitchen. I smiled. But beneath the amusement, something else had started growing inside me. Concern. Because Sophia wasn't just acting jealous anymore. She wasn't simply enjoying our dates. She was imagining a future. A real future. And I wasn't sure whether she was afraid of it or secretly hoping for it. That night, we watched television again. Sophia fell asleep beside me. This time, I didn't wake her. Sometime after midnight, she suddenly stirred. Her eyes opened halfway. She looked at me. Then she whispered, I dreamed we were married. I froze. Sophia blinked. She suddenly realized I had heard her. Her face turned pale. You heard that? I nodded. She pulled the blanket over her face. I wasn't awake. I laughed softly. You were awake enough to confess. Ethan. She slowly lowered the blanket. For once, she had no clever excuse. No rule. No argument. Just fear in her eyes. And I realized something. The woman who had warned me never to make her believe our relationship was real was now terrified because she was starting to believe it herself. After Sophia admitted she had dreamed about being married to me, she became strangely quiet. Not distant, just thoughtful. Whenever I looked at her, I caught her staring at me. Whenever our conversation became personal, she suddenly changed the subject. But there was one thing she couldn't hide. She was thinking about our future. A lot. One afternoon, I walked into the living room and found her using her laptop. She quickly closed the screen. What were you looking at? Nothing. That was a very suspicious nothing. I was working. On what? Business. I laughed. Everything is business with you. She stood up. I have to go. Where? Somewhere. You're terrible at excuses. She ignored me. Later that evening, I needed to use her laptop because mine had stopped working. I opened the browser. The history immediately appeared. I stared at the screen. Best wedding venues in the city. I blinked. Then I scrolled. Elegant wedding dresses. Another search. Diamond engagement rings. Then, best honeymoon destinations for couples. I couldn't stop smiling. When Sophia returned, I was sitting on the couch with her laptop. She stopped in the doorway. What are you doing? I found something interesting. Her eyes widened. You looked at my history? I didn't mean to. You did. I was trying to find a website. You had no right. I know. She rushed over and grabbed the laptop. Her face was completely red. You saw everything? Pretty much. Forget it. I can't. Ethan, you were searching for wedding venues. I was curious. Wedding dresses? Curious. Rings? Curious. Honeymoon destinations? She covered her face. Stop. I laughed. She looked genuinely embarrassed. I wasn't planning anything. Then why search all of that? I don't know. The laughter disappeared from my voice. Sophia. She looked at me. Do you actually want to marry me? Her expression changed instantly. The playful embarrassment disappeared. I don't know. It was the first completely honest answer she had given me about the subject. I moved closer. You don't have to be afraid of the answer. I am. Why? She sat down. I've never imagined marrying anyone. Not even Alexander? Especially not Alexander. She looked at her hands. When I was growing up, I watched my parents fight over everything. Money, power, control. Even love became something they used against each other. She swallowed. I promised myself I'd never live like that. I understand. No, you don't. Then tell me. She looked into my eyes. I've always believed that if I married someone, I'd lose myself. Her voice became quieter. Everyone would expect something from me. My family, my husband, his family, the company, everyone. I reached for her hand. What about me? She looked down at our hands. You're different. How? Because when I'm with you, I don't feel like I'm performing. I said nothing. She continued. I don't have to be Sophia Sterling. Her eyes filled with tears. I can just be Sophia. I squeezed her hand. That's all I've ever wanted. She smiled faintly. I know. We sat together in silence. Then she whispered, I feel safe with you. Those words affected me more than any confession could have. I moved closer. She didn't pull away. Our faces were only inches apart. I could feel her breath. She looked at my lips, then back into my eyes. Sophia. She closed her eyes. For 1 second, I thought she would kiss me. I leaned closer. Our lips almost touched. Then she suddenly pulled away. No. I stopped. She stood up quickly. We can't. Why? The rules. I stared at her. You've broken almost every other rule. This one is different. How? Because if we kiss, it won't feel fake. Her voice trembled. And I'm scared of what happens after that. I stood up. You don't have to be scared. Yes, I do. She looked at me. If I let myself believe this is real, I don't know how to go back. I didn't know what to say. She walked toward the door. Good night, Ethan. Good night. She stopped before leaving. Then she turned. I wasn't embarrassed because you found the searches. Then why? Because part of me wanted you to find them. My heart skipped. Before I could respond, she disappeared upstairs. That night, Sophia sat alone in her bedroom. She opened her laptop. For several minutes, she stared at the search bar. She hesitated, then typed, "How to know if you're in love with your fake boyfriend." She stared at the words. Her finger hovered over the search button. Then she clicked. The results appeared. She read silently. Her heart began beating faster, because every sign she saw sounded painfully familiar. Jealousy, wanting to spend time together, imagining a future, feeling safe, missing him when he wasn't there, and being terrified of losing him. Sophia closed the laptop. She whispered to herself, "No." But deep inside, she already knew the answer she was desperately trying to avoid. Alexander Kane returned on a Monday morning. I knew something was wrong the moment Sophia saw him standing outside the office. Her entire expression changed. "Alexander." He smiled. "Sophia." I stepped beside her. Alexander looked at me. "So this is him." Sophia immediately took my hand. "Yes." Alexander's eyes dropped to our joined hands. "You're still doing this?" Sophia frowned. "This isn't your concern. It becomes my concern when you're risking everything for a man who doesn't belong in your world." I felt my jaw tighten. Sophia squeezed my hand. "Ethan belongs wherever he chooses to be." Alexander laughed. "That's romantic. It wasn't meant to impress you." He stepped closer. "You really believe this is going to last?" Sophia didn't hesitate. "Yes." "You're pretending." "No. You've known him for barely any time. That doesn't matter." Alexander looked at me. "You heard her. She thinks this is real." Sophia stepped forward. "I don't think it." Alexander raised an eyebrow. "I know it." The hallway became silent. Several employees were watching. Sophia didn't care. She turned toward them. "This is Ethan. He's my boyfriend." Then she looked directly at Alexander. "And I choose him." Alexander's smile disappeared. "Even if it costs you everything?" Sophia didn't answer. Alexander walked away. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. That evening, I found Alexander waiting outside the parking garage. "What do you want?" "To warn you." "I'm listening." He leaned against his car. "Sophia's father has had enough." I frowned. "What does that mean?" Richard gave her a choice. "What choice?" "Marry me or lose her position in Sterling Industries." I stared at him. She'd never agree. That's why her father is giving her a deadline. "When?" "Soon." I stepped closer. "You're lying." "Why would I?" "To break us apart." Alexander smiled. "Maybe." He handed me an envelope. "Ask her yourself." I took it. Inside were documents showing changes to Sophia's position in the family business. If she refuses the marriage, Richard will remove her from the board and freeze her control over certain family assets. I stared at the papers. Alexander's voice became colder. "She'll lose the future she spent her entire life preparing for. And you expect me to walk away?" "I expect you to understand reality." He got into his car. Before leaving, he looked at me. "You can love her all you want, Ethan, but eventually, she'll have to choose between you and her family." His words followed me home. Sophia immediately noticed something was wrong. "You're quiet." "I'm tired." "You're lying." I said I'm tired. She stared at me. "What happened?" "Nothing." She stepped closer. "You've been avoiding me since this afternoon." "I haven't. You barely looked at me during dinner." I was thinking. About what? I couldn't tell her. Not yet. If I told her about her father, she'd confront him. She'd fight. She'd risk everything. And somehow, I had become the reason she might lose her family. I couldn't accept that. The next few days I became distant. I stopped teasing her. I stopped calling her during work. When she reached for my hand, I sometimes pulled away. She noticed everything. One evening, she finally confronted me. "What's happening?" "Nothing." "Stop saying that." I looked away. "You've changed." "I haven't." "You have." She stepped in front of me. "Did Alexander say something?" "No." "Did my father threaten you?" "No." "Then why are you acting like you don't want me anymore?" I didn't answer. Her eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, I don't want to hurt you. You already are." I closed my eyes. She whispered, "Why are you suddenly afraid of loving me?" That question broke something inside me. "I am afraid." She stared at me. "Of what?" I finally told her the truth. "I'm afraid you'll wake up one day and realize I don't belong in your world. Her expression softened. I don't care about that. I do. Why? Because your entire life is here. Your family, your company, your name, your responsibilities. And you. I'm just Ethan. She shook her head. No. Yes. I chose you. But your father will make you choose. She became silent. You know? I nodded. Alexander told me. Her face hardened. I'll deal with my father. Sophia. No. She grabbed my hand. You think I'm going to abandon you because my father threatens my position? I don't want you to lose everything. She stepped closer. Then understand something. What? Her eyes were filled with determination. I don't need my father's permission to love you. Sophia. She tightened her grip on my hand. If choosing you means losing my position, I'll make that choice. I don't want you to sacrifice your future. She shook her head. You are not a sacrifice. I couldn't speak. She moved closer until there was no distance between us. You keep thinking I belong to my family. She looked directly into my eyes. But I belong to myself. Then she whispered the words that changed everything. Then I'll leave my world. I won't leave you. I stared at her. For the first time, I understood. Sophia wasn't asking me to fit into her world anymore. She was willing to walk away from it. For me, I should have known Richard Sterling wouldn't stay silent forever. He had tolerated our relationship when he thought it was harmless. But the moment he realized Sophia actually loved me, everything changed. It happened on a Thursday morning. I was sitting in my office when my assistant told me a visitor was waiting. Mr. Sterling. Richard walked inside. He didn't sit. End your relationship with my daughter. I stared at him. I beg your pardon? You heard me. I won't. His expression hardened. You don't understand who you're dealing with. I understand exactly who you are. He placed a folder on my desk. Inside were documents about my company, bank accounts, investors, loans, partnerships. My stomach tightened. You can destroy my company. Yes. And you came here to threaten me? I came here to give you a choice. What choice? Leave Sophia, and your company survives. And if I refuse, you lose everything. I closed the folder. You think money can make me leave her? I know it can. He walked toward the door. You're not good enough for my daughter. I looked at him. Maybe I'm not rich enough for her world. He stopped. But I'm not afraid of you. Richard turned around. You should be. After he left, I immediately called Sophia. She didn't answer. I tried again. Nothing. Then, an hour later, she arrived. She looked pale. Ethan, what did your father do? She stared at me. Nothing. Don't lie to me. She looked away. My father knows everything. I know. He threatened your company. I nodded. I can handle it. No. She stepped closer. You can't. I won't let him control us. Ethan. Her voice broke. I reached for her hand. She pulled away. I have to tell you something. What? She took a deep breath. Our relationship was fake. I froze. What? It was always fake. No. Yes. You told me you loved me. I was pretending. You said you felt safe with me. I was acting. You said you chose me. Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean it. I stared at her. Everything inside me collapsed. So that's it? She nodded. I never loved you. The words felt like a knife. I wanted to ask why. I wanted to demand an explanation. But I remembered what she had said before. Then I'll leave my world. I won't leave you. Apparently, she had chosen her world after all. I stepped backward. Okay. Her eyes widened. Ethan, don't. You don't have to explain. I turned toward the door. She grabbed my arm. Please. I pulled away. You made your choice. She started crying. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. I walked out. I didn't look back. The moment the door closed, Sophia collapsed onto the floor. Claire found her minutes later. Sophia. Sophia covered her face. I broke him. Claire knelt beside her. What happened? My father threatened his company. Then tell Ethan the truth. I couldn't. Why? Because if I told him, he'd fight my father. Claire stared at her. And you think hurting him was better? Sophia cried harder. I had to protect him. You love him. I know. Then why did you tell him you didn't? Because I couldn't let my father destroy his future. Claire sighed. You've become your own worst enemy. Sophia whispered. I just wanted him to be safe. Meanwhile, I returned to my apartment. I sat alone for hours. Eventually, I opened my laptop. My company was still in trouble. Sophia's money had helped before. Her connections had opened doors. But now I couldn't use any of it. I didn't want it. For the first time, I understood what I really wanted. Not her father's approval. Not Sophia's money. Not her family's influence. I wanted Sophia. I wanted the woman who laughed with me at restaurants. The woman who fell asleep on my shoulder. The woman who secretly searched for wedding dresses. The woman who told me she felt safe with me. I wanted her, but she had chosen to let me go. So I decided to rebuild without her. I worked until sunrise. I contacted investors. I rewrote proposals. I cut unnecessary expenses. I called every person who had ever believed in my company. Days became weeks. Slowly, things improved. We secured a new client, then another. An investor agreed to meet. My company began moving forward. I didn't become successful because of Sophia's money. I became successful because I refused to give up. But every achievement felt empty, because there was nobody beside me to celebrate. Then, one evening, rain began falling heavily outside my office. I was working late when someone knocked. I looked up. The door opened. Sophia stood there. Her clothes were soaked. Her hair was dripping. Her eyes were red from crying. I stood up. Sophia. She walked toward me. I didn't move. Why are you here? She stopped in front of me. I tried to stay away. Her voice shook. I couldn't. I looked away. You made yourself clear. I lied. You said you never loved me. I lied about everything. I looked at her. She stepped closer. Tears mixed with the rain on her face. I lied about everything except one thing. Her voice broke. I love you. I couldn't breathe. Sophia reached for my hand. I never stopped. And suddenly, the walls I had built around my heart began to collapse. Sophia didn't leave my office that night. She stood in front of me, soaked from the rain, waiting for me to say something. I didn't know what to say. You shouldn't have come here. I know. Your father will be furious. I know. He can destroy everything. Sophia looked directly into my eyes. He already tried. I stepped closer. What are you going to do? She took a deep breath. I'm done letting him decide my life. You mean that? Yes. She reached for my hand. I spent my entire life believing I had to obey my family because I was born a Sterling. And now I understand something. What? My name belongs to me. My life belongs to me. And my choices belong to me. I squeezed her hand. What about your inheritance? She smiled sadly. If losing it is the price of being free, I'll pay it. I stared at her. You're willing to lose everything? No. She moved closer. I'm willing to lose everything except myself. The next morning, Sophia confronted her father. I wasn't there, but she later told me exactly what happened. Richard was sitting behind his desk when she walked into his office. You came to your senses? No. He looked up. I am not marrying Alexander. Richard's expression hardened. You'll regret this. I've already regretted allowing you to control my life. I am protecting you. No, Dad. Her voice remained calm. You're controlling me. You don't understand the responsibilities of this family. I understand them better than you think. Richard stood. Your relationship with Ethan is destroying everything we've built. No. Sophia looked at him. Your pressure is destroying our family. Richard stared at her. You would throw away your inheritance for him? I would rather lose my inheritance than lose the right to choose whom I love. The room became silent. Richard had no answer. Sophia walked away. For the first time, she wasn't leaving as his daughter asking for permission. She was leaving as an independent woman. When she returned to my office, Daniel was waiting for us. Daniel was my business partner and one of the few people I trusted completely. He placed a folder on the table. We found something. Sophia looked at him. What? Alexander. I opened the folder. Inside were financial records from several Sterling business deals. Some numbers didn't make sense. Daniel pointed at a series of transactions. Look here. I studied them. Money was moved through 3 different companies. Sophia frowned. I recognize one of these names. Victor Hayes, Daniel said. Her expression changed. Victor works with my father's financial division. Exactly. I looked at the documents. What's the connection to Alexander? Daniel opened another file. Victor has been secretly redirecting money through companies connected to Alexander. Sophia stared at the evidence. So they've been manipulating sterling deals. More than that, Daniel said. They've been creating losses. Why? I answered before Daniel could. To weaken the company. Sophia's eyes widened. Then Alexander could step in as the solution. Daniel nodded. Exactly. I looked at Sophia. Your father doesn't know. Not yet. She picked up the documents. We need proof. We'll get it. For the next several days, Sophia and I worked together. Not as fake boyfriend and girlfriend. Not as a billionaire heiress and a struggling entrepreneur. As partners. We followed transactions. We compared contracts. We contacted people who had worked on the deals. Daniel discovered a series of forged approvals. Sophia found inconsistencies in internal reports. I traced money transfers between companies. Every piece brought us closer to the truth. Finally, we found the evidence we needed. Alexander had been working with Victor for months. Their plan was simple. Create losses inside Sterling Industries. Blame the company's leadership. Force Richard into a desperate situation. Then Alexander would offer himself as the man who could save the business. Marriage would give him even more control. Sophia stared at the evidence. He wasn't trying to marry me because he loved me. No, he wanted the company. Yes. She closed her eyes. For a moment, I thought she might cry. Instead, she looked determined. We're going to expose them. I smiled. Together? Together. The next day, we confronted Richard. Sophia placed the documents on his desk. What is this? Richard looked through them. His expression slowly changed. Where did you get these? We investigated the transactions. He looked at me, then back at Sophia. Alexander? Yes. And Victor? Yes. Richard sat down. For the first time, he looked old, tired, broken. I didn't know. Sophia's expression softened slightly. I know. I thought Alexander was protecting this family. He was protecting himself. Richard looked at his daughter. And Ethan? Sophia took my hand. He protected me. Richard looked between us. Then he whispered, I pushed you away. Sophia didn't answer. I thought I was protecting you, he continued. You were protecting the family name. Richard lowered his head. Maybe I forgot that you were my daughter before you were my heir. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. That is all I ever wanted you to remember. Richard looked at me. I owe you an apology. I nodded. I appreciate that. I don't expect forgiveness immediately. Good. For the first time, Richard almost smiled. I suppose you've earned the right to be honest with me. I looked at Sophia. I intend to be. Later that evening, Sophia and I stood outside the office. The city lights stretched across the horizon. She leaned against me. Do you remember our first contract? The 3-month fake relationship? Yes. You gave me so many rules. She laughed. No feelings. No jealousy. No kissing. No marriage. I smiled. And how did that work out? Terribly. Completely. She turned toward me. Our relationship isn't fake anymore. No. And I don't want it to be. Neither do I. She took my hand. Her eyes became serious. Ethan. Yeah. I've been thinking. That usually gets you into trouble. She laughed. Then she stepped closer. I don't want a fake wedding anymore. My heart stopped. She smiled. I want the real one. I stared at her. Are you serious? She nodded. Completely. I pulled her into my arms. For once, I don't think we need a contract. She whispered against my chest. No. Then she looked up at me. This time, I choose you. And this time, there was nothing fake about it. The truth finally came out. Alexander and Victor's scheme was exposed through the evidence Sophia, Daniel, and I had collected. The forged documents, hidden transactions, manipulated contracts, and secret transfers were impossible to explain away. When the investigators confronted them, Alexander tried to blame Victor. Victor tried to blame Alexander. Neither story survived. Within days, their plan collapsed. Sophia's family company was protected. Her future was safe. And for the first time since this entire nightmare began, I could breathe without wondering who would attack us next. Richard called me to his office. I expected another warning. Instead, he stood behind his desk and said, "Ethan, I owe you an apology." I remained silent. I tried to control Sophia because I believed I knew what was best for her. She needed freedom. I know that now. Richard looked toward the window. I spent years building an empire and forgot that my daughter wasn't another part of it. I nodded. She deserves to make her own choices. She does. He looked at me. And apparently, she has chosen you. I smiled. She has. Richard sighed. I may not understand everything about your relationship, but I won't stand in the way anymore. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation. There were still wounds between father and daughter. But it was a beginning. Later that evening, Sophia came to my apartment. She looked unusually nervous. What happened? Nothing. You're using my favorite word. She laughed. I brought something. She held a small notebook. What is that? Something embarrassing. Now I definitely want to see it. She sat beside me. Then she opened the notebook. I stared at the first page. There were handwritten notes. Wedding venue ideas. I looked at Sophia. She became red. You kept a wedding notebook? Don't laugh. I wouldn't dare. She turned the page. There were sketches of flowers. Lists of possible locations. Ideas for music. Guest lists. Food. Decorations. Even honeymoon destinations. I stared in disbelief. You actually planned all of this? I didn't plan it. You have 37 pages. I was thinking. You drew this. I like drawing. You wrote my name here. She immediately closed the notebook. You weren't supposed to see that. I laughed. Open it. No. Sophia. She sighed and opened it again. There was a page titled, Our First Dance. I looked at her. You imagined dancing with me? She nodded. Apparently. Another page had a list of songs. Another had a note. Simple ceremony. No unnecessary guests. Outside if possible. White flowers. I stared at the words. They matched almost everything I had told her I wanted. You remembered. I remembered everything you said. My heart tightened. When did you start writing this? She looked down. I don't know. Before you knew you loved me? Yes. How long before? She hesitated. Maybe weeks. Weeks. She nodded. I didn't understand what was happening. She closed the notebook. I thought I was just imagining things. What things? Our future. She looked at me. I started thinking about waking up beside you, having breakfast together, fighting over stupid things, going on trips, buying a house. I smiled. Fighting? You would annoy me. I already do. She laughed. I know. Then her expression softened. I even imagined what our children might look like. I raised an eyebrow. You did not. She covered her face. I was confused. I laughed. She hit my shoulder. Stop laughing at me. I think it's adorable. She looked at me. I was afraid. Of what? That I was falling in love with someone who might never choose me. I became quiet. Sophia. She continued. You were never impressed by my money. You didn't need my family. You didn't even want my help at first. You helped save my company. Yes, but you never treated me differently because of it. She touched the notebook. That's why I started imagining a life where none of those things mattered. I took her hand. I had the same fear. She looked at me. What fear? That you'd eventually choose someone richer. Her eyes widened. Someone from your world. I nodded. I kept thinking Alexander was the kind of man your father wanted, but I didn't want him. I know that now. She squeezed my hand. I wanted you. I know. And I loved you. I smiled. I loved you too. She froze. You did. I did. When? I laughed. I don't know exactly. Tell me. Maybe when you fell asleep on my shoulder. She smiled. Or when you got jealous of Emily. I wasn't jealous. You absolutely were. Fine. She laughed. Maybe I fell in love when you told me you felt safe with me. Her eyes became watery. I wish you told me. I was scared. So was I. We sat together quietly. Then Sophia opened the notebook again. She turned through the pages slowly. I planned almost everything. Almost? She nodded. There are flowers. Music, the venue, the dress, the honeymoon. She closed the notebook. But there's one thing missing. I looked at her. What? She smiled. There is only one thing missing from my wedding plans. I raised an eyebrow. What's that? Sophia placed the notebook on the table. Then she looked directly into my eyes. Her smile became softer. Your proposal. I stared at her. She laughed. So what? Are you going to make me wait? I smiled. You already planned the entire wedding. Yes. You even planned our honeymoon. Yes. You left me one job. She nodded. Exactly. I stood up. Sophia looked confused. Where are you going? I reached into my desk drawer. Then I turned back toward her. She stared at what was in my hand. Her eyes widened. Sophia. Yes. You're about to get your proposal. Her hand flew to her mouth. And for the first time, I realized that the fake relationship we had created had somehow led us to the most real moment of our lives. The evening I proposed to Sophia, I took her back to the small garden where everything had started. It was quiet, almost exactly as I remembered it. The old wooden bench stood beneath the same tree, and the soft lights along the path made the place feel warmer than it had that first night. Sophia looked around and smiled. You brought me here again? I did. She touched the bench. This is where I asked you to become my fake boyfriend. I remember. You looked terrified. I was terrified. She laughed softly. You should have said no. I almost did. Almost. I smiled. Then you looked at me, and somehow I forgot every reason I had. Her smile faded into something softer. What is this? She asked. I stepped closer and took her hands. This time, Sophia, there is no contract. She stared at me. No 3-month agreement. No family pressure. No cameras. No business deal. Nobody is telling us what we have to do. Her eyes began to shine. I'm asking because I want you. Not because your father needs something. Not because my company needs help. Not because we need to pretend. I took the ring from my pocket. Sophia, will you marry me? She answered before I could finish lowering myself. Yes. I laughed in surprise. You didn't even let me finish. I didn't need to. Then she pulled me into her arms. Yes, she whispered against my shoulder. 1,000 times yes. Our wedding was small, exactly the way we wanted it. There were no reporters waiting outside. No business executives filling the front rows because they wanted something from us. No strangers pretending to care. Only the people who had stood beside us when our lives were falling apart. Daniel sat beside Emily, smiling proudly. A few close friends from the company came too. Sophia's father, Richard, sat quietly in the front row. For once, he was not there as a powerful businessman. He was simply her father. Before the ceremony, he approached me. Take care of her, he said. I smiled. I will. Richard looked toward the dressing room. She has been waiting for this longer than she will ever admit. I raised an eyebrow. He chuckled. You will understand soon. Then the music began. Everyone stood. Sophia appeared at the end of the aisle. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. She wore the wedding dress she had once secretly dreamed about. It was elegant and simple, exactly like the picture she had shown me from that old notebook. She walked toward me with tears in her eyes. When she reached me, she whispered, You remembered. I remember everything about you. She squeezed my hand. The ceremony began. When it was time for vows, Sophia looked at me for several seconds before speaking. I used to think love was dangerous, she said. I thought if I never truly loved anyone, nobody could ever hurt me. Her voice trembled. So I asked you to become my fake boyfriend. A few people laughed softly. Sophia smiled through her tears. I told myself it would be easier because there would be rules. 3 months. No real feelings. No expectations. No future. She looked directly into my eyes. But somewhere along the way, you stopped being fake. I felt my eyes burn. You became the person I looked for when I was happy. The person I needed when I was afraid. The person I trusted when I had every reason not to trust anyone. She took a breath. I fell in love with you before I was brave enough to admit it. I held her hands tighter. Then it was my turn. Sophia, when I met you, I thought I was agreeing to a temporary arrangement. She laughed. I thought I was helping you for 3 months. I smiled. But you gave me something I never expected. I looked around at the people standing behind us. You gave me a home. I looked back at her. You gave me a family. My voice became unsteady. And you gave me a reason to believe that love could be real. Sophia wiped away a tear. I spent so much time believing I had to protect myself from love, she whispered. You don't have to anymore, I told her. She smiled. Neither do you. We exchanged rings. The moment we were pronounced husband and wife, Sophia threw her arms around me. Everyone applauded. Richard stood and clapped the loudest. Daniel shouted, "Finally!" Sophia laughed against my chest. After the ceremony, we stood outside beneath strings of warm lights while everyone celebrated. She leaned against my shoulder. Do you remember what I promised you? I pretended to think. No. She looked offended. You are a terrible husband. I laughed. I remember. She crossed her arms. I told you our relationship would last only 3 months. Technically, you were right. Her eyes widened. What? It lasted 3 months. She stared at me. Then why are we standing here as husband and wife? I kissed her forehead. Because you forgot to cancel the renewal. She burst out laughing. You are impossible. And you are stuck with me. Sophia wrapped her arms around my waist. Good. She looked toward the lights, then back at me. I thought our fake relationship would end after 3 months. So did I. She smiled. But I think I got something better. What? A forever. I kissed her gently. For the first time, there were no conditions, no contracts, and no promises made for someone else. There was only us. And this time, our love was completely real. I held her closer as music drifted through the garden. She rested her head against my chest. And for a moment, neither of us spoke. We listened to laughter. Every moment had led us here. The woman who once feared love was my wife, and the man who had stopped believing had a reason to dream about tomorrow with her.